General Mark Milley here. For 4 decades, I've commanded America's most sensitive military operations, but I've never had to watch through satellite feed as our best sniper held Kim Jong-Un in his crosshairs for 47 minutes. The shot was perfect. The opportunity was there. The authorization was signed. But what happened next changed everything I thought I knew about North Korean intelligence capabilities. The operation that almost eliminated the North Korean dictator began not with military planning, but with a single intelligence report that landed on my desk in August 2022. Our sources inside Pyongyang had confirmed what we'd long suspected. Kim Jong-un was accelerating his nuclear program beyond all previous estimates. Within 18 months, North Korea would possess the capability to deliver nuclear warheads to any target in the continental United States. The window for preventing this scenario was closing rapidly. President Biden called an emergency National Security Council meeting on August 23, 2022. The Situation Room had never felt more tense as CIA Director Burns presented the intelligence assessment. "Mr. President," Burns said, his voice measured but urgent, "we estimate Kim Jong-un will have operational intercontinental nuclear capability by February 2024. Every month we delay action. The threat multiplies exponentially." The discussion that followed would haunt me for months. Secretary of State Blinken argued for intensified diplomatic pressure. Treasury Secretary Yellen proposed expanded economic sanctions. But the intelligence was clear. Diplomatic solutions had failed, economic pressure had been absorbed, and military invasion would trigger nuclear retaliation that could kill millions. That left one option that no one wanted to discuss openly. President Biden finally broke the silence. "General Milley," he said, looking directly at me, "I need to understand our capabilities for surgical solutions." The euphemism was clear. He was asking about assassination in that windowless room, 60 feet beneath the White House. The most powerful democracy in the world was contemplating the targeted killing of a foreign head of state. The initial assessment took 6 weeks. Our joint task force included CIA operations, specialists, Delta Force personnel, and a handful of contractors whose names don't appear in any official records. The challenge wasn't just eliminating Kim Jong-un. It was doing so in a way that wouldn't trigger immediate nuclear retaliation from his successors, or create a power vacuum that could destabilize the entire Korean peninsula. Our first breakthrough came from an unexpected source: Kim Jong-un's own paranoia. North Korean intelligence services, in their obsession with protecting their leader, had created detailed documentation of every security protocol, every travel route, every vulnerability assessment. When our cyber teams penetrated these files, in October 2022, we discovered that Kim's security apparatus had inadvertently created the perfect roadmap for his own assassination. The target profile was both encouraging and terrifying. Kim Jong-un maintained a rigid schedule of public appearances, traveling the same routes at predictable intervals. His security detail, while numerous, followed outdated Soviet-era protocols that our analysts could exploit. But Kim also never traveled without a nuclear briefcase, operated by military commanders who had standing orders to launch retaliatory strikes if their leader was killed. The psychological profile developed by our behavioral analysts revealed crucial insights. Kim Jong-un's megalomania made him predictable in some ways, but his paranoia made him incredibly difficult to approach through traditional infiltration methods. However, his need for public validation created opportunities. He craved being seen by his people, photographed for propaganda purposes, documented as the supreme leader. These public appearances would be our window of opportunity. By November 2022, we had identified the optimal target scenario: Kim's annual inspection of the Wonsan Naval Base, scheduled for March 2023. Intelligence indicated this would be Kim's most exposed public appearance of the year, with predictable timing, limited security variables, and tactical advantages for long-range engagement. The location offered natural concealment for our operative, while providing clear sight lines to the inspection platform where Kim would deliver his annual address to naval personnel. The sniper selection process was unlike anything in my military experience. We needed someone capable of an 800-meter shot under adverse weather conditions, with the psychological stability to remain in position for extended periods, and the operational security discipline to infiltrate North Korea without detection. Only 3 individuals in the entire U.S. military met these criteria. Staff Sergeant Marcus Rodriguez, a Marine Corps sniper with 47 confirmed kills across 3 combat deployments, was selected after a rigorous evaluation process. Rodriguez had demonstrated exceptional marksmanship under extreme stress, maintained perfect operational security during classified missions, and possessed the language skills necessary for deep cover infiltration. His psychological evaluation showed the rare combination of empathy and detachment required for high-stakes assassination missions. The infiltration plan required 8 months of preparation. Rodriguez would enter North Korea through the DMZ, using tunnels that had been mapped by Special Operations Forces over decades of reconnaissance missions. His cover identity as a Chinese agricultural consultant was supported by a backstory so detailed that it included fabricated childhood memories, educational transcripts, and professional references that would withstand the most intensive North Korean investigation. The weapon system presented unique challenges. Traditional sniper rifles were too large for covert transport and would be detected by North Korean security screening. Instead, our weapons specialists developed a modular rifle system that could be disassembled into components resembling agricultural equipment. The assembled weapon was capable of subMOA accuracy at 800 meters while appearing to casual observation as surveying equipment. Asterisk training for Operation Silent Thunder consumed for months. Rodriguez underwent intensive preparation at classified facilities, practicing the exact shot geometry he would face in Wonsan, adapting to weather conditions identical to those expected during Kim's inspection, and memorizing every detail of the target environment. The training included scenarios for mission abort, emergency extraction, and survival in North Korean territory if the operation was compromised. The psychological preparation was perhaps the most challenging aspect. Rodriguez would be alone in hostile territory for potentially weeks, maintaining his cover identity while waiting for the optimal shot opportunity. CIA psychologists developed mental conditioning protocols to help him maintain focus and emotional stability during extended isolation. The stress testing included scenarios designed to replicate the psychological pressure of holding a world leader in crosshairs, while knowing that pulling the trigger could alter global history. By February 2023, all elements were in position. Rodriguez had successfully infiltrated North Korea and established his cover identity. North Korean intelligence had accepted his credentials and assigned him to an agricultural survey team working near Wonsan. Our satellite surveillance confirmed Kim Jong-un's inspection schedule remained unchanged. Weather forecasts indicated optimal shooting conditions during the expected time frame. The final authorization meeting occurred on March 10, 2023. President Biden, clearly struggling with the magnitude of the decision, asked each National Security Council member for their final assessment. The room was divided. CIA Director Burns strongly supported the operation, arguing that diplomatic solutions had been exhausted. Defense Secretary Austin expressed concerns about unpredictable consequences. Secretary of State Blinken worried about international legal implications. General Milley, President Biden said finally, "This decision ultimately rests with me, but I need your military assessment. Can we accomplish this mission with acceptable risk?" I looked around the room at advisors who had guided America through countless crises, knowing that my answer would determine whether we crossed a line that could never be uncrossed. "Gee, Mr. President," I replied, Sergeant Rodriguez is the best sniper in our military. The tactical plan is sound. Intelligence support is comprehensive. But sir, once we pull this trigger, we're in uncharted territory. We're gambling that Kim's death will stabilize rather than destabilize the nuclear threat. It's a bet farm operation. The President authorized Operation Silent Thunder at 9:47 p.m. on March 10, 2023. The authentication codes were transmitted to Rodriguez through encrypted channels. The mission was active. Kim Jong-Un had 5 days to live, and he had no idea that America's most skilled sniper was already in position. March 15th dawned with perfect weather conditions in Wonsan. Our satellite feeds showed Kim's motorcade departing Pyongyang precisely on schedule. Rodriguez confirmed his position overlooking the naval base inspection platform. All systems were operational. The most audacious assassination attempt in American history was proceeding flawlessly. At 2:15 p.m. local time, Kim Jong-un's armored limousine arrived at Wonsan Naval Base. Through high-resolution satellite imagery, I watched the North Korean leader emerge from his vehicle, surrounded by security personnel, walking toward the platform where he would deliver his address. Rodriguez had a clear line of sight. Range, 847 meters. Wind conditions, optimal. Target acquisition, confirmed. Overwatch, this is Silent Thunder. Rodriguez's voice came through encrypted communication. Target is in position. Requesting final authorization for engagement. I looked at the mission clock. Kim Jong-un was scheduled to speak for 23 minutes. Once he began his address, Rodriguez would have the clearest shot possible as Kim stood motionless behind the podium. Silent Thunder, this is Overwatch, I responded. You are authorized for engagement. Take the shot when ready. The words felt surreal as I spoke them. I was authorizing the assassination of a foreign head of state, an action that would reverberate through history and potentially trigger the nuclear war we were trying to prevent. Kim Jong-un approached the podium at 2:31 p.m. through satellite feed. I could see him clearly. The distinctive haircut, the oversized suit, the confident swagger of a dictator addressing his military commanders. Rodriguez reported target acquisition and optimal shooting conditions. Everything was perfect. To perfect. Overwatch. I have unusual movement in the target area, Rodriguez reported. Multiple security personnel repositioning. Possible counter-surveillance activity. Through the satellite feed, I watched North Korean security agents moving in patterns that seemed random but were actually systematic. Counter-sniper sweeps. The first indication that something was wrong came at 2:34 p.m. North Korean security forces began deploying in positions that directly blocked Rodriguez's shooting lanes. These weren't random security measures. They were precisely calculated movements designed to eliminate sniper threats from his exact position. Someone knew he was there. Silent Thunder. Abort immediately, I commanded. Exfiltrate, using Alpha route. Mission is compromised. But Rodriguez's response chilled me to the bone. Overwatch, I'm surrounded. North Korean forces have my position isolated. They're closing in from 3 directions. Extraction is not possible. Through satellite imagery, I watched the nightmare scenario unfold. North Korean soldiers were moving through the forest surrounding Rodriguez's position with the precision of a military operation that had been planned for weeks. They knew exactly where he was hiding. They knew exactly how he had infiltrated the country. They knew everything about Operation Silent Thunder. Kim Jong-un never took the podium that day. Instead, he was escorted back to his armored vehicle and departed Wonsan Naval Base under heavy security. The inspection was postponed indefinitely due to security concerns. Our assassination attempt had been not just discovered, but anticipated. North Korean intelligence had been watching us watch them. The extraction of Sergeant Rodriguez became the most complex special operations rescue in my career. For 47 minutes, He remained in position with Kim Jong-Un in his crosshairs, not because he was waiting for the perfect shot, but because he was trapped by North Korean forces who were closing in systematically. During those 47 minutes, he could have taken the shot that would have eliminated Kim Jong-un, but doing so would have revealed his position to the surrounding enemy forces and guaranteed his capture or death. Overwatch, I have the shot, Rodriguez reported as Kim Jong-un stood exposed on the platform. Target is stationary. Conditions are optimal. Requesting permission to engage. The temptation was overwhelming. We were 800 meters away from eliminating one of the world's most dangerous dictators. But taking the shot would have doomed Rodriguez and potentially triggered the nuclear exchange we were trying to prevent. Negative. Silent thunder. Maintain position and await extraction. It was one of the hardest orders I've ever given. We had Kim Jong-un perfectly positioned for assassination, but the tactical situation made success impossible. Sometimes the hardest military decision is choosing not to pull the trigger when you have the opportunity. The rescue operation required resources from across the Pacific Theater. Navy SEALs deployed from submarines in the Sea of Japan. Air Force Special Operations aircraft provided electronic warfare support to blind North Korean radar systems. Marine Corps units created diversionary activities along the DMZ to confuse enemy response patterns. The extraction of one sniper required the coordination of hundreds of military personnel across multiple service branches. Rodriguez finally reached the extraction point at 11:23 p.m., having evaded North Korean search teams for over 8 hours. His debriefing revealed the extent of the intelligence failure that had compromised Operation Silent Thunder. North Korean counterintelligence had been tracking our operation for months, allowing Rodriguez to infiltrate while planning to use his mission as evidence of American aggression for international propaganda purposes. The aftermath of the failed assassination attempt created consequences that extended far beyond the immediate operational failure. Kim Jong-un publicly announced that North Korea had defeated American assassination plots, using Rodriguez's infiltration as justification for accelerated nuclear weapons development. International condemnation focused on American willingness to attempt extrajudicial killing of foreign leaders, damaging relationships with allies who had not been informed of the operation. The intelligence review that followed revealed systematic penetration of our North Korean operations by enemy counterintelligence. Assets we had considered secure were actually double agents, feeding information to Pyongyang. Communication networks we believed were encrypted had been compromised for years. The North Korean intelligence services had been several steps ahead of us throughout the entire operation. President Biden called me into the Oval Office 3 days after the failed mission. "General," he said, his face showing the strain of the decision, "I authorized an assassination attempt against a foreign head of state. That action failed, but the consequences will follow us for years. I need to understand what went wrong and how we prevent this from happening again." The post-mission analysis identified multiple failure points that had led to the operation's compromise. Our human intelligence networks in North Korea had been systematically penetrated. Our cyber surveillance capabilities had been countered by North Korean defensive measures we hadn't anticipated. Most significantly, our assessment of Kim Jong-un's security capabilities had been dangerously outdated. The psychological impact on Sergeant Rodriguez was severe and long, having Kim Jong-un in his crosshairs for 47 minutes. While knowing the shot was impossible created a form of combat stress that our psychologists had never encountered. He required extensive therapy to process the experience of being simultaneously a hunter and hunted, of having the power to change world history while being powerless to use that capability, handling the unique stresses of leadership assassination missions. 6 months after Operation Silent Thunder, I testified before the Senate Intelligence Committee in a classified session about the failed mission. The senators' questions reflected deep concern about the precedent of attempting to assassinate foreign leaders and the consequences when such operations fail. Their oversight focused on preventing future missions that could escalate into nuclear conflicts. The strategic assessment ultimately concluded that Operation Silent Thunder had been the right mission with the wrong intelligence foundation. Kim Jong-un remained a clear and present danger to American security, but our understanding of North Korean capabilities had been insufficient to support such a high-risk operation. Future assassination attempts would require intelligence, certainty that we had not possessed in March 2023. The lesson learned from watching our sniper hold Kim Jong-un in his crosshairs for 47 minutes was sobering. In modern warfare against sophisticated adversaries, the window between opportunity and catastrophe can be measured in seconds. The decision to abort the mission, rather than risk nuclear escalation, represented a strategic victory disguised as an operational failure. Sergeant Rodriguez received the Distinguished Service Cross in a classified ceremony that will never be publicly acknowledged. His courage under impossible circumstances, his maintenance of operational discipline when surrounded by enemy forces, and his successful extraction despite comprehensive North Korean countermeasures represented military professionalism at its highest level. The failed assassination of Kim Jong-un changed how America approaches the threat of nuclear proliferation. Military solutions alone cannot address the challenge of dictators with nuclear weapons. Diplomatic engagement, economic pressure, and intelligence operations must be combined with the credible threat of force. But that threat must be based on accurate intelligence and realistic operational assessments. Today, Kim Jong-un continues to develop nuclear weapons, while knowing that America came within 800 meters of eliminating him. That knowledge affects his behavior, his security measures, and his willingness to engage in provocative actions. Sometimes the threat of successful assassination can be as powerful as actual assassination, but only if the target believes the threat is real and immediate. The satellite footage of those 47 minutes remains classified, but the images are burned into my memory. Our sniper maintaining perfect discipline while trapped by enemy forces. Kim Jong-un standing exposed on a platform, unaware of how close he came to death. The moment when operational success and strategic catastrophe were separated by a single trigger pull that never came. Operation Silent Thunder failed in its immediate objective but succeeded in demonstrating American capabilities and resolve. To North Korean leadership, Kim Jong-un learned that America possesses the skills and determination to reach him anywhere, anytime, but also that American military leaders will not sacrifice strategic objectives for tactical victories. The men and women who planned and executed this mission will never receive public recognition for their service. Their skills, courage, and sacrifice remain hidden behind classification barriers that protect national security but also conceal the true cost of defending freedom against nuclear threats. They know that sometimes the greatest victory is the shot not taken. The mission aborted when strategic wisdom overrules tactical opportunity. As I reflect on those 47 minutes when we held the fate of the Korean peninsula in our crosshairs, I'm reminded that military power must always serve political objectives. The assassination of Kim Jong-un might have eliminated a dangerous dictator, but it could also have triggered the nuclear war we were trying to prevent. Choosing not to pull the trigger when we had the perfect shot may have been the most important military decision of my career. The failed assassination attempt taught us that, in an age of nuclear weapons, some problems cannot be solved by killing the right person at the right time. Some threats require sustained engagement, careful diplomacy, and the patience to accept imperfect solutions rather than risk perfect catastrophes. Sometimes the hardest order a general can give is do not fire when the target is in your sights. This is my testimony to the complexity of modern warfare, where victory and defeat can coexist in the same moment, where success and failure are separated by decisions that must be made in seconds but have consequences that last for decades. The sniper who held Kim Jong-un in his crosshairs for 47 minutes embodied the finest traditions of American military service: skill, courage, discipline, and the wisdom to know when not to shoot.